Everyone in the restaurant went quiet. The waiter had just asked the little girl, "Sweetheart, where are your parents?" Before she could answer, a sharp female voice cut in. "She can't be here alone," the billionaire heiress said coldly, eyes scanning the child like she was a mistake. "This is a private table." The girl's fingers tightened around her juice box. That's when the man beside her finally stood up. He didn't raise his voice. Didn't look angry. Didn't even look nervous. He simply placed one hand gently on the girl's shoulder and said, "She's with me." The heiress laughed under her breath. "You. I booked this entire section. I don't know who you think you are, but..." "She's my daughter," he said calmly. That stopped her. Not because of his words, but because of how he said them. No begging. No apology. No fear. The manager rushed over, whispering nervously, "Sir, there's been a misunderstanding." "No," the man interrupted, still calm. "There hasn't." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a worn photo, creases at the edges, fingerprints smudged from years of use. It showed him in a hospital room, holding a newborn. Alone. "My wife died during childbirth," he said quietly. "I raised her alone. I worked 2 jobs. Tonight was the first time she asked to eat somewhere fancy." The restaurant felt smaller somehow. The billionaire heiress stared at the photo. Her confident posture cracked. "Why didn't you say something earlier?" she asked softly. He met her eyes. "Because I shouldn't have to." Silence. Then the little girl tugged his sleeve and whispered, "Daddy, did I do something wrong?" He knelt instantly. Never. Not once. Not for existing. Something in the heiress's face changed. She pulled out a chair and said, almost to herself, "Let them stay." The manager nodded quickly. As the men sat back down, the heiress didn't return to her phone. She kept looking at them. At the way he cut her food. At how she smiled like the world finally felt safe. And for the first time that night, the billionaire heiress realized something she had never bought, inherited, or controlled. Real power doesn't announce itself. It simply says, "She's with me." The food arrived, but no one rushed to eat. The billionaire heiress sat across from them now, no longer the untouchable woman everyone feared. Her eyes kept drifting back to the little girl, how she carefully wiped her hands before touching the plate, how she glanced at her father for permission before taking a bite. "You taught her manners," the heiress said quietly. "I taught her respect," the man replied. "There's a difference." That answer landed harder than she expected. "I grew up in rooms like this," she said after a pause. White tablecloths. Crystal glasses. People who smiled while measuring your worth. He nodded, not impressed, not intimidated. Just listening. "My father built an empire," she continued. "But I ate alone most nights." The little girl looked up. "Did you have a daddy?" The question slipped out innocent, but sharp. The heiress froze. "He was always busy," she finally said. "Busy being important." The man cut his daughter's food again, steady hands, practiced motion. "Being present is more important," he said. The heiress swallowed. Across the room, phones were still pointed at them. People whispered. But for the first time in her life, she didn't feel watched, she felt seen. "What do you do?" she asked him. "I fix things people throw away," he answered. She frowned. "Like what?" "Broken furniture. Old houses. Forgotten promises." That last one wasn't meant for her, but it hit anyway. The little girl smiled proudly. "He fixed my bike after the accident." The heiress turned sharply. "What accident?" "She was hit by a car," the man said. 2 years ago." "Where was her mother?" the heiress asked, then instantly regretted it. He didn't get angry. She was already gone, he said. The heiress looked down at her untouched plate. For the first time, money felt useless. I have everything, she whispered. And I don't have that. The man met her eyes. Not with pity. With truth. You still can, he said. The little girl suddenly reached across the table and slid her dessert toward the heiress. You can share mine, she said. It's better when you share. The heiress laughed, soft, broken, real. In that moment, something inside her cracked open. She wasn't sitting at a table anymore. She was sitting at a crossroads. And she didn't yet realize. This single dad and his daughter were about to change her life forever. The calm didn't last. A man in a tailored suit stepped up to the table, his smile thin and practiced. Ma'am, he said to the heiress, lowering his voice, your father is on the phone. He heard about the situation. The word situation carried judgment. Her jaw tightened. I'm busy. The suited man's eyes flicked to the single dad, then to the little girl. Disapproval, instant and sharp. There are expectations tonight, he said. Investors. Media. The single dad stood. Not defensively. Respectfully. We're leaving, he said. The heiress looked up fast. You don't have to. He smiled faintly. We don't belong in your war. That's when the suited man finally noticed the name on the reservation slip lying on the table. His face drained of color. Wait, he said. Your name is. The single dad met his eyes. Daniel Cole. The heiress froze. The room tilted. She stood slowly, chair scraping the floor. That's not possible. Daniel frowned. Do I know you? Her voice trembled. You saved my life. Silence slammed into the restaurant. 10 years ago, she said, stepping closer. A highway pileup. My car caught fire. Everyone was filming. No one helped. Daniel's memory stirred, smoke, screams, heat burning his arms. I pulled a woman out, he said quietly. Never knew her name. She swallowed hard. I was 20. My father paid the hospital to keep it quiet. No headlines. No. Hero. Her eyes dropped to his scarred hands. You disappeared, she whispered. I looked for you. Daniel exhaled. Life didn't give me the option to stay. The suited man stepped back, shaken. The little girl tugged Daniel's jacket. Daddy, is she your friend? Daniel hesitated. The heiress knelt to the child's level, tears shining. He's my hero, she said softly. The girl smiled. Then you're safe with us. Something inside the heiress finally broke. But outside the restaurant, cameras were gathering. Her father's empire didn't forgive fairy tales. And Daniel didn't yet know. Choosing to stay would cost him everything he'd rebuilt. Cameras flashed outside the restaurant like lightning. The billionaire heiress's phone buzzed nonstop. One message stood out. Father, leave the table. Now. Daniel noticed her hands shaking. This is where I step away, he said gently, taking his daughter's coat. You don't owe us anything. The little girl frowned. But Daddy, we didn't finish dessert. Daniel smiled sadly. Some things end early. The heiress stood between them and the door. No, she said. One word. Firm. Final. She turned toward the cameras, shoulders squared for the first time in her life, not as an heiress, not as a brand. As a woman choosing. They're with me, she said. The words echoed. Reporters froze. Her father's assistant went pale. Daniel whispered, you don't know what you're doing. She met his eyes. I finally do. She faced the cameras. 10 years ago, this man saved my life. Tonight, he reminded me what it's worth. If my name falls because I chose decency, let it fall. Silence. Then something unexpected happened. Applause. Slow at first. Then louder. From strangers. From people tired of power without heart. The manager unlocked the private section again. For your family, he said to Daniel. Daniel looked down at his daughter. She smiled. Daddy, can we stay? He nodded. The heiress sat beside them, not across, not above. Beside. For the first time, she wasn't alone at a table. And Daniel realized something too. Strength doesn't shout. Love doesn't ask permission. And family sometimes finds you when you stop running. If this story moved you, please subscribe this story, because the quiet heroes deserve to be heard.